everybody. Welcome to C3 Films. Today we're doing another episode of It Wasn't That Good, and today we're going to be talking about La La Land. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it already, you don't really need to because it wasn't that good, but go ahead and watch it so you know what we're talking about. I'm Cheryl, and this is...
Chris.
And let's get rolling. Get it?
Man.
Let me have this one.
Fine. I get it because she's an actress and there's movies. Oh my god, it's so good.
I'm so funny. Ha ha ha. Anyway, you know what was really bad though? This movie.
Wow. Okay. Now that was a segue. That was a segue. Very well done. Very well done. Cheryl, I just remember that when you first told me about this movie, I have literally not seen this movie until now. And I remember, anytime I think about this movie, I always remember what you said about this movie, where you couldn't get past the first 15 minutes or something, and then you just turned it off. Like, what happened in those first 15 minutes that made you just be like, no?
I don't think it was 15 minutes. I definitely watched it longer. I think I got like maybe an hour in or something like that, and then I was like, I can't do this. It's completely just, it's boring. There's nothing interesting about it. Like, it's literally just a story about two people, a guy and a girl, who meet each other, hate each other, they have a conflict, and then they fall in love, and then they break up. Spoilers, right?
You already gave us spoilers.
But I know, but this is like the most basic, fundamental rom-com that you could have. And then they like just put them in a setting where you would think it would make it kind of special and spectacular. But really they just made a musical where neither of the main characters really sing that much.
Does Ryan Gosling even he has like one or two songs in the movie or something? I feel like he doesn't sing that much in this movie.
I think they each have like two times where they kind of sing, and then that's really it. And then also like, I mean, it's cool that they got those two actors to actually sing. I don't believe that they were replaced by anyone. And I say this because their singing was not particularly special. And it's a musical. Yeah. So usually when you have a musical, even for, live action or like movie versions of musicals, they cast people who can sing like really, really well. And it's less about the acting. But, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because they don't really sing that much, but they have a lot of singing at the beginning, and then after that, like, in the
it looks like it just
of
disappears,
movie,
right?
Exactly, and then it just becomes, like, a dance, where they just do random dancing, and then that's when I get up and take a bathroom break and, like, run on and... make an omelet or something, and light some candles and stuff like that, and then come back and they're still dancing. So, but anyway, that is that, and then there's also the first number, which I really disliked because why? If you have ever been to LA, the traffic there sucks.
Right.
And that is clearly depicted at the beginning of this movie. Yet, they all get out of their cars and they sing and dance about how happy they are.
It's a fantasy.
It's like summer and everything. Oh, if it's a fantasy, but then the rest of it is very realistic for Hollywood. So it's just that one opening number that neither of them are in, really.
You don't see them.
They're not in it at all.
They're not in there at all.
The whole number is like done and over with, and then we see Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone interact for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't like it. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's funny because I heard that song because a company that I worked for wanted to do their own kind of rendition of that song, and so since we were needing to film it for them, we needed to see at least the opening sequence so that we can understand what they were trying to do and the look they were trying to go for. So I had seen that scene, and that was it. That was all I had seen of La La Land for literal years until we watched it for the purposes of this show. And I just remember feeling very unimpressed with the song itself, and but I was impressed with the camera work of the movie, or in this case, for this scene, there's a couple other scenes where there's a lot of one takes where it almost kind of feels like it's trying to be a play, and there's two things that really inspire this movie. One is theatrical musical performances, and the other one is old school movies, like the movies you might have seen in like the 40s and stuff like that. They have the same kind of like wipes or fades with the like fade in circle and then fade up. They use like the font that you might see in a movie like Citizen Kane or stuff like that, but it's in color and it's not in black and white. Although now I'm thinking about it, maybe black and white would have helped it aesthetically. But the technically, like the technical ability of the opening scene is really good, because there were times when I was like, okay, well, this is simple because it's on a jib, and then when they come back, you see it's a barricade, and I'm like, oh, and there's cars on the other side too, so they couldn't use a jib arm because there's no place to like roll it. So it was like, so is this handheld? Like, I honestly don't know how they filmed it. I'm like, if it's handheld, it's too smooth to be handheld, and then the person has to like get over the barricades and come back, and there's these these wipes and stuff. So I was like, this is pretty impressive as far as like from a technical perspective. It's very impressive. It has the appearance of being one take. It's not actually one take because there's certain things they just can't do that quickly for one takes with all these extras. But it has the appearance of it, and so it looks really good. So that I like. But when we get into the actual musical element of the movie, I think one of the worst things you can have in your musical is music that doesn't really do anything for the audience, that doesn't stand out. Like, minus the first song, I actually don't remember any of the other songs in the movie.
Really? How could you not remember the two songs that they repeatedly sang over and over again? Actually, one of them was a singing one, the other one was a piano song. But basically, it was the same thing over and over again. We talked a little bit before. We had a show about the Batman, and we were complaining about the fact that they only used two songs in their 3 hour movie. It was kind of the same thing. I just couldn't stop thinking about what we said about the Batman because it was kind of the same for me in this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the music wasn't great for a musical. The music wasn't great, and for a story that was nominated for Best Picture for the Academy Awards, I have questions. Actually, I don't, because I could answer them. I could see why it was nominated, and I think it's because filmmakers love films that are about filmmakers, and this is kind of that, and they really do show the realism for what Hollywood is like, how auditions are and stuff like that. And sadly, it does remind me a little bit of like some personal experiences that I've had. I'm sure you've related to it as well. But from someone else who doesn't like do film and everything, it could seem a little exaggerated. It's not really. It's very much realistic, and it's actually kind of depressing, which I guess is probably why it was nominated for an Academy Award.
Well, and you see what you just brought up is going to get to, when we talk about it a little bit later, that's going to get to the only part of the movie that I actually liked, are the elements around what you were just bringing up. But before that, there were other elements within the movie that's supposed to be, I guess, kind of realistic, or just little things that kind of just bothered me, right? So, for instance, so you know what I do. And so there's this one scene. This is, by the way, this is super nitpicky, so it's whatever. But hear me out. Like they're in that part of the movie where they're walking through the lot, and then somebody says, and remember, she doesn't work in the movie business yet. She works at a coffee shop that is on the Warner Brothers lot. So for all intents and purposes, she and this guy that comes in to visit her are just regular civilians. And so then they walk and they get to a point where somebody is filming something, and the guy says, "Oh yeah, sorry, we're about to like film this. We just need you to be quiet for a second." And then the first thing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know what this is. This is a lockup." And the first thing I thought to myself was, because then the guy says, "All right, we're getting ready to roll," and immediately what I thought was, okay, who is that guy? Is he a PA? If he's a PA, he wouldn't be about to tell everybody that we're about to roll. He would be repeating rolling after somebody else says we're about to roll. So it must be an AD. And if it's an AD and an AD has to tell somebody that they're about to walk into the set and they have to lock it up, the AD's first thing isn't going to be, "All right, we're going to get ready to roll." The AD's first thing is going to be, "What PA let these people into my set? Who's locking it up here? What is the problem?" The first thing the AD is going to do is start cursing at everybody. So immediately I was just like, this is bull. Realistic. I'll take it out of this movie. I'm done. I can't deal with this movie. I'm walking away.
Yeah, I did think it was. I mean, I've never been on a lot before, like while they were shooting, like anything. I think maybe like but I don't really think that makes sense. Or they would just have people walking around the lot shooting things at the same time, and like just if you work there, you have access. Pretty sure they like have barricades or something, or like
they still would lock it up. Like you would not get that close. That's the whole thing. You couldn't get that close because they don't want you that close, because then you could like see everything. You'll be looking, and that's how crowds start. They want people to keep it moving or be far enough away that you don't like get close to like the director and the actors. The other thing, I was like, wow, this is way too empty. In the real world, you'd have like hair, makeup, people, wardrobe, producers, the director, a couple of other people like looking at monitors, like the DP looking at the monitor. I was like, this is way too empty for an actual film set. And I was just like, this is actually not a big like criticism of the movie. It was just a thing that like for me, I was like, this is unrealistic.
Oh no, I'm totally with you. I was like, oh, it looks like a student film. And I love how they're just like, "Oh, just be quiet," and then they're just standing there talking, and I was like, like they're gonna get shushed. They're gonna get shushed.
Right?
But they don't get shushed. And then they wait for the take to be over, and then they start walking away, and I was like, so they literally just went over there, talked during a take, and then bounced. It's okay. It's a student film.
And basically, it's a student film shooting on the Warner Brothers lot. Okay.
They were stealing it.
And so, and the other part that took me out of that movie was when they do that number at the beginning of the film where she decides to go to like the party with her friends, right? And then she's the one that's driving. So I was like, okay, so one, I guess your friends would have taken a lift if you weren't driving, but whatever, fine, you're there, so you're driving them. And then she decides to leave without them, and that's when she finds out her car is gone. So I was like, wait a second, you were gonna leave your friends that rode with you there? Like, what kind of friend are you? What? Not cool. And then second, the thing that took me out of it was the fact that 4 people get out of that car and none of them saw the towing sign. I'm sorry, but whenever we've gone out in a group, we got at least 3 people, including the driver, looking and like studying the signs, deciphering the code of whether or not it's okay to park here on a Sunday, or when the street cleaning is. Is it after 6 p.m.? Is this okay? Like anytime a group of friends goes out, and I've been in, we study the parking because we ain't none of us trying to walk home. So I was like, this is all 15 minutes in. I'm out. I can't deal with this movie. I'm done.
Yeah, very messed up. And also, I can't remember how or if they ever found her car, or if she ever found her car. She just magically gets it back, I think.
I think they do it off screen.
There's like one line in the movie that puts it back in the movie somewhere. I don't know.
except for that one time when our friend got their car towed in NYC. Shush.
Oh no. Okay, there's a
the one.
story there.
Oh man. But yes,
yeah,
at least our friend wasn't gonna leave us.
I think the other thing that really took me out of the movie was like the 1 hour into the movie, it went. There was a title card that said that it was now summer, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's in the middle of the movie now, and I totally forgot that there was a title card at the beginning that said spring. And then I was like, oh, if we're halfway through the movie, are they gonna do fall and winter?
Well, they did. I thought they started with winter. That's why he was playing Christmas music when he got fired.
I think they started. Oh, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
It was a very long time, and then all of a sudden, summer in the middle of the movie. I thought it started with spring. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Goes to show why you don't try to use title cards to speed up time. Also, I thought it was weird that when they did winter, it was like winter 5 years later, and it was like, oh, okay, we're speeding up a lot. I don't know why.
Yep.
I don't really think it was necessary to speed up 5 years, but I guess like to show where they are in life. But I feel like they could have ended it with like what they ended it with, and then or not what they ended it with, but like what they ended it with before the winter part. Because they were just talking about outside the observatory about like pretty much their relationship was ending.
Right.
And I wish they kind of been more clear about their relationship ending and then having the movie end like that. I think that would have been a much more clean and meaningful ending, as opposed to the weird thing that they did, which I know you want to talk about.
Before I talk about something I utterly detest, let me at least try to give the movie some props because I've been a little unfairly critical so far. I mean, I think I'm too pessimistic for this movie. There's the other part where she leaves the dude that she was with at the dinner to go to the movies, and when she goes to the movies, she goes to the front and just stands there to like try to see where he is, and I was just like, okay, I get what you're doing, movie, but I cannot believe for a second that nobody in this theater in LA said you need to sit the hell down. You blocking my movie, like because she's not off to the side. She's like in the middle where the movie is playing over her. I'm like, what are you doing, movie?
The movie was projecting on her face, and I was like, yeah, I guess. Like, I don't know how you would get that close to the theater or the screen unless it's like a very small theater, which I guess makes sense if they're watching Rebel Without a Cause. But the only way I could explain it away is they probably all already seen it already because it is a really old movie, so they probably kind of like, what the heck? But also, it's LA, crazy people everywhere.
Crazy attractive woman just standing there
in a beautiful green dress. In a gala dress.
But one thing that I did like, and it's the part of the movie that I resonated with the most, you mentioned it earlier, it's the parts that actually have to deal with being an artist and the struggle of it. And like the movie felt the most real to me when she went home and when he comes to get her and says, hey, you have an audition tomorrow, and she says, I'm not going. And he's like, why? And then she basically like explains it out where it's just like, dude, this is what's going to happen because I've been to a million of these and this is what always happens. And she's like, I can't take it anymore. And like, he still is kind of like, well, why don't you want to do it? And like, in my mind, I'm saying the answer is because she's tired of getting beat up. She's like tired of getting beat up all the time with this shit. And it's like, it's really hard. And so like, it really, stood out to me because anybody who's worked in the creative field, and in this case, it's, the movie industry, and it's something that I also have gone through recently, where you reach this point where you question, what am I doing? Why am I still doing this? Am I actually happy? I spent how many years doing this and I'm no closer, or it feels like I'm no closer to like some type of tangible like goal that can like be something that I can show for this. I got, you got people asking you what you do, and and everything else like that, and kind of looking at you funny when you say you do something that isn't necessarily stable. So like that part of the movie, like I was with. Like at that point in the movie, I was like, maybe I will not say that this movie is utter crap. Maybe I will say that this movie it has some merit. And then they lose me when they get to that ending.
Yeah, I would agree. There were some moments that felt like real, like he gets a real job, or like a real job in the sense that it's a steady job, but
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't really, he's not necessarily happy with it. And I relate to that because that's what I did, and I kind of abandoned what I wanted to do, um, so that I could have a steady income. But I, like you, went through the same thing as what Mia did, which is kind of, think about whether or not I want to do this anymore and like quit and
Yeah.
just move on and just try to do something else. So I get it. And I also really liked that conversation they had where, she was what kind of started their breakup, which is that conversation at dinner when he came back and she was talking to him about like what,
That's a good
like
scene, by the
what.
way.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite scene. I think it's the only scene that I like in the movie. And it's because it feels real. Like it's a real conversation. It was written very naturally, and
Mm-hmm.
like it didn't feel like either of them were in the wrong. They both had, their reasons that were justified. A miscommunication. It just felt very real. That is like a conversation that people could really have and have had, and it was really well written, and it's just pure dialogue, and I
Yep.
and I thought that was great. But you know, it doesn't really make up for like everything else. But if I would take one thing away from it, that would be it. It's just how well written that dialogue was for that one scene.
Yeah, I agree because I think it was also well acted too. The two of them, it never felt like it was devolving into like what you would normally see in Hollywood movies where they'd start just yelling at each other. It felt like two people who are just frustrated with their situation, but like you said, a misunderstanding. She never told him to go and get like a stable job. He decided to do that for himself because he heard her talking to her mom. And so he felt like I need to grow up and I need to do something to be worthy of this relationship. And he ended up kind of sacrificing something that was important to him to do the thing that was more stable. So like, yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head. It's not about either of them being wrong. It's just about the fact that they both kind of had different expectations of the other person, and that comes out in that conversation. So well acted, well written. Yeah, best scene in the movie. But alas, that is not enough to save it. So they have that 5-year time skip, like you said, and then they get to this point where she goes into the bar, and like the moment when she sees like the fact that he used her logo, like that's kind of cool. I didn't mind that. And then she sits in the front row and they see each other and then they don't say anything, and it's like, okay, this is great. And then the movie does this whole life we could have had thing. This life we could have had thing. And like it takes a minute before you realize what they're doing, because then, you know, instead it's like, oh, he just goes and he just kisses her right away. And I'm like, okay, well, first off, like I guess this is just a musical fantasy number, but then it's like this whole life thing, right? And the first thing I'm thinking is, well, first of all, you wouldn't have kissed her when you didn't know who she was. She was just some random stranger. If anything, you guys would have talked, got a coffee, and then maybe would have led somewhere. So like this initial opening is just already throwing me off. But then yeah, they do that, and then it's a whole segment, and I can see how that could work for some people because this is the song he's playing. The song he's playing is the song of the life that could have been. But it fell flat to me. It just completely fell flat to me.
Yeah, it actually brought me to another question, which is why did they have to break up? Like it's pretty clear that they went through, you know, a tumble, as people do in every relationship. But I don't think it was that big of an argument or a conflict for them to end the relationship, especially since afterwards they were helping each other succeed and they succeeded in their careers together.
Mm.
They kind of needed each other to be successful. So I don't understand why they couldn't have been successful together. I know she was going to Paris,
Yeah.
but it's not like she's going to Paris forever. She was going for like a 4 week shoot, I think.
No, it was 7 months.
7 months. Okay, but still, like that's, you know,
Yeah.
I know they were already like on the they were doing like the long distance thing for a while already. But
Right.
I feel like if they knew that it was only going to be 7 more months, that it would have been fine. I don't know. I feel like they could have worked it out, especially in like what 5 years is what it was,
Hmm.
where she already had a daughter. She was like married, and the daughter was like
Like
probably like
2.
2 or 3,
Yeah.
which means that she was only with that other guy for uh,
2 years.
maximum 2 years.
Yeah.
It's not long enough for me to be like, oh yeah, it really didn't work out. They didn't give us anything to show us that like it wouldn't really work out. But what they did was they showed us how it really could have worked out. So I was like, what? Why did it work out then? And then part of me thought that like maybe she was gonna do what she did before, would just get up and leave the guy she was with for him.
Yeah, but she has a kid now. That would be messed up.
I know, but like she did it before. I mean, I guess they weren't married, but you know, who's to say? I just feel like the reality that they gave us was unwarranted. There was
Yeah.
nothing there to lead us to believe that that is what their future was supposed to be or going to be. And I forget there's like so many other movies where they really just break down the couples and be like, yeah, they really shouldn't have been, they really couldn't have been together, and this is why. They
Right,
didn't do
but
that
this
in
movie,
this.
you're right. This movie doesn't earn that because they
Yeah,
go out of
they
their way to show us why they should be together and why they do work. Even when they're broken up, they're still trying to help each other succeed. He still
mm-hmm.
drives all that way to get to her, and then will drive her there. And she will take him up on his offer. She won't say no, he's wrong. She'll say, you know what, he's right, and go get coffee and ride with him to the interview.
Yeah. I mean, it was like they were made for each other, and then they broke up, and they stayed
Right.
broken up. It just yeah, that did not work for me.
They just really wanted an ending where the characters didn't get together, Cheryl. That's all they wanted, and they
They could
didn't
have
want to.
done
They
that.
didn't want
They
to
could
earn it.
have they could have done that, but before doing the whole winter thing. I think they should have just cut out the whole winter thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so they were in La La Land. You guys today with these jokes, I can't with you guys. This is too much. Um, yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me is that like the songs fell flat, but also like you, there was a part in the middle of the movie where I was just kind of like, okay, I didn't find it interesting, and the like the whole stuff where they go and then they have that kind of other whimsical moment where she's like flying and he's flying and stuff like that. I was just kind of like, what is this movie right now? It didn't capture me, but I can see how it could capture some people, but it does not feel to me like it is a movie that is worthy of an Oscar. If I did not know and I just found out today that you told me this movie got nominated for an Oscar, I would have been very, very surprised because it does not seem like that level to me. But at the same time, Oscar films have a very specific kind of style, and this could speak true to that style that those movies tend to try to emulate.
Yeah, it fell. I think it fell within the realm of the target audience. I think that being the Academy, but I do have to say, like, I do agree with you. I do like the cinematography. I think it was a very beautifully shot. They did a lot of cool things with the numbers and the set pieces. I love the color spectrum.
Costume design.
Yeah, it looked really good. Even with with the whole thing with them like flying and dancing in the air and everything. Just there's just they did a lot of cool things stylistically, visually, effects wise. It just didn't. I feel it was like they pulled all the stops for a mediocre story. And they also, there was again the whole thing about it being a musical for like the beginning, and then the rest of it was I'm not sure what it was, but it looked good. It reminded me a lot of Vertigo, in terms of color, and so I think that's kind of what stuck out to me a lot was the color, the use of color, because it's very rare for a film to use such bold colors,
right?
And that being very bright red, yellow, blue, green. Yeah. They were like the primary, finger paint for your kids kind of thing, everywhere. And that's something that they don't do often in movies because it's just too bold and it's hard to use that. But I mean, it's a musical, so you kind of can do that in this situation. I think I also kind of liked how they kind of try to do like old-timey vibe. I know you hit on that a little bit, but it just I feel like it wasn't enough. I feel like they were trying to do the old-timey musical style, but again, it fell flat for me because they lost me on the musical part. It was like they try to make a musical without the music.
Yeah.
And so I think that and even a simple story for a musical, if it's a musical and it has good music and all that stuff, the story almost doesn't matter. It could be very basic. But in this case, there was just some elements that were missing for me.
Yeah, I understand. I agree 100%. But we have been going on a little bit, so we should go ahead and wrap it up here. If you guys want to hear us talk more, you can check us out on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/C3Films, where we talk about more behind-the-scenes stuff or more of our feelings, and other things as well. But what did you guys think about La La Land? That's how we felt. We didn't really enjoy it, but we can see how people could enjoy it. Are you one of those people that absolutely does? Do you think it was worthy of worthy of an Oscar? Whatever you thought about it, comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, subscribe. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we'll see you all next time.